Hi, welcome to Free Dive Live with Ted Hardy. It's a show where I tell entertaining and educational stories from my career. I discuss freediving topics in depth, and then I also will answer your questions live wherever you're streaming this from. Tonight is an interesting episode because I'm trying about 8 new technological things all at once, so I have no idea how this is going to turn out. So things are a little rocky, just bear with me. I'm actually streaming this on Instagram like normal, but I'm also streaming this on Facebook, on my personal page, on my immersion page, on YouTube, on Twitter. So putting it out everywhere. So first thing I'd like to do is let me make sure if the chat message is working correctly. So if you guys are watching this on Facebook, Instagram, wherever you're watching, if you just do me a favor, let me know where are you from and have you taken a freediving class, yes or no. And that way I can at least test what this stuff is doing. For those of you that tune in and are watching on Instagram, what I'll let you know about what I'm so excited about is by doing it this way that I'm doing it, for those watching on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and Periscope and all that stuff, you'll be able to see the videos that I'm gonna be displaying, right? So I'm excited because when I do these TED Talks, a lot of times I talk about like, oh, there's this video that I saw and blah, 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 and this is the blackout and this happened. Now I'll be able to see it on the screen, right? So for those of you that are watching it on those other platforms, you'll be able to see that. So we'll just test this tonight and we'll see how it goes. What's up, Jeremy? So yeah, let's just see how it goes. If any of you guys are watching on Instagram, let me know if you go over to Facebook and we start talking about videos and see if you can see everything on there. But we'll see how it goes. All right, Utah. I get a lot of free divers from Utah recently. Kind of odd, but I getting more and more people saying they're from that area, Northwest area. So that's cool. Excellent. So I can see some of the people on Facebook doing the chats. Very cool. All right, so let me tell you what the topic I want to discuss. So this is something that's definitely, what you would say near and dear to me. So it's important to me. And it's interesting because it came up, I was on a podcast, Free Dive Cafe, and we filmed it a week or two ago. And the person was an instructor. The episode hasn't come out yet, but it should be coming out soon. But he was an instructor, and he was asking me a lot of questions, about teaching and my philosophy on teaching, and he had gone through and went through the website and was asking me a bunch of questions. And so here's the thing that came up. This is something that I learned a long time ago. And it's basically the idea is as an instructor, and there's a ton of us instructors out there, and we're all out there, creating, safer divers. We're trying to spread the word about freediving safety. And here's what I know after doing this for 10 years. There is a huge difference as an instructor in delivering someone information on how to be safe versus convincing someone to actually dive safe when they leave the class. Right? Because that's a pretty big difference. Right? And let me explain why I found that the first 2, if not 3 years of teaching, I was not doing what I think the job should be, right? And basically what I was doing is I was telling people how to be safe, which I'm going to tell you is extremely different than convincing someone to actually dive safe. So back when I was brand new, I was teaching with Performance Freediving. Kirk hired me to come travel around. Now you got to understand, this also goes to this idea of convincing people. All freediving education, PFI, FI, all of this stuff, it all has its roots back in competitive freediving. Right? World record, dive it up down the line. Right? So that's where all of the education originally came from, right? Is competitive freediving. And then they started teaching performance freediving. Kirk and Mandy started teaching these classes in the United States. And 99% of the customers are spearfishermen. Right? So there was already a little bit of a disconnect. And one of the reasons I mean that is, the language that they're talking in is all competitive freediving. All the videos are of competitive freediver having issues, all the videos of all this sort of stuff, and then you're trying to relate it to spearfishermen. So here's what I mean. All the videos that I used to show of people having lost the motor control in blackouts were people going up and down lines. They're bringing some national record or world record, 200-foot dive, they black out underwater, they black out at the surface. And if you're a spearfisherman watching that, it's pretty easy to say, well, yeah, that of course the guy blacked out. He's over 200 feet. I'm only diving to 40 feet. Like, it doesn't apply. Right? So there's definitely if everything that I'm showing them is of not them, it's going to be harder for them to relate to it and understand why they need to do it. So originally, when I first started teaching, it seemed all the videos were of competitive freedivers on the line. That makes it harder to relate in that way. The other thing I noticed is, I think it was my second, maybe my third class. I was teaching in California, and the course was over, and this guy came up to me. He's like, "Oh my God, Ted, that course was amazing. I learned so much. I can't believe how easy those dives were. And I, doubled my breath hold, and I can't wait to go spearfishing. I just want to let you know, right? I'm still gonna dive by myself, but it's not. If I die, it's not your fault. I'm not. Don't worry about it. But the course was amazing. You did such a good job." I'm like, "Thank you. I don't know. Like, I don't know how to take that, right?" He's like, "I will absolutely continue to dive by myself. Thank you. You did a great job." I'm like, And so I remember when I heard that, I remember thinking, well, I can't control what that guy does. And if he wants to not pay attention to what I'm saying, well, then he's an idiot, right? Like, it's not my fault, right? I told him what to do. He chose not to do it. And so that was that. 2 months later, right? So I'm teaching, still teaching. 2 months later, I run across a student, and he's like, "Oh my God!" And so he had taken the class, and he had taken the freediving class, and then I ran across him 2 months later, and he started going, "Ted, oh my God, man, the course was amazing." He's like, "My spearfishing's great now, right? I'm able to dive so much deeper, stay down so much longer, right? And get way more bigger fish, getting way more fish is awesome." I said, "Cool. So, where do you go spearfishing?" He's like, "Oh, I go, there's a spot off of work right from the beach, and I just, cruise out." I'm like, "That's cool. Who do you go with?" He's like, "Oh, I don't go with anyone. It's only like, 30, so the first freediving, it's like 30, 40 feet, right? So I'm not worried about it." Like, I said like 10 times in class, like, don't dive by yourself, and you could die and black out. And I remember looking at him and going, okay, well, it's not my fault, right? He's an idiot. Like, I told him what to do, and he just chose not to do it. I mean, like, what more could I possibly do? And so I just filed that away, right? And then it was like 6 months later. So now I've been teaching for 6 months, right? And I run across a buddy of mine who took 2 of my students out spearfishing, and I was like, "Oh, how'd they do?" So, "Oh, they did great, man. They brought all this fish." I'm like, "That's cool. Like, so they like doing one up, one down. They're watching each other and all that stuff." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "They're like, when the other guy was at the surface, the guy was right there watching them and all that stuff." And he's like, "No." I was like, "One guy that way, one guy that way." And I'm like, "Oh. Well, they must be idiots," right? I'm like, and so then I started to realize, then I actually started to get scared, because then I'm like, wait a minute, here I am teaching these people to be safe, and every instance when I've been able to, check on what they're doing, they're not doing it. So then I'm like, am I just not doing my job at all? Like, is that 100%? Do none of my students practice what I'm teaching? And like, if so, like, what am I doing? Like, it's not getting the job done. So then I would realize there's the thing when I teach the instructor program. There's something that I talk about with all of the students, is when the student makes a mistake, 80%, if I'm teaching an instructor program, I tell them, if your student makes a mistake, 80% of the time it's your fault. Sometimes students just make mistakes. I mean, that's fair. Sometimes they make mistakes, but rarely is it their fault. It's almost always your fault. As an instructor with a lot of experience, I still deal with that, right? I'll take people to the pool. I'll teach them the entry. One of the more complicated skills that we teach is at like 10 steps. It's complicated, right? And I'll explain how to do it, and then I watch them start doing the entry, and 3 of them are making the same mistake, and I'm like, what are you why are they all making this? So I'm like, and I think back to what I explained, and I'm like, I forgot that one thing, and now more than half of my people are making that same mistake, right? And so why do they make a mistake? It's my fault, right? So I see it all the time. So I started to realize that if my students are not implementing the safety things, it's not that one's an idiot and that one's an idiot and that one's an idiot. Whose fault is it? It's my fault. And that's when I understood there's a big difference in teaching someone to be safe and convincing them to change their behavior and actually become a safe diver. And I know for probably 2 or 3 years, I wasn't doing that. I was just giving them the information. And once I really realized that, like, one, it was depressing because it's like, wow, like, here I was, thought I was doing something, but I'm not, right? So when it comes to safe diving, so when they're in my class, they were forced to dive safely because I'd holler at them if they didn't do it right. So yeah, they're safe in class. Yes, I absolutely taught them how to do a loss of motor control. They could, if someone had a blackout, they knew exactly what to do because they practiced it 15 or more times. But then they were leave my class and not be doing one up, one down, close enough to grab. So it doesn't matter. They're the best rescue, blackout rescuer on the planet. If you're not there, you can't do anything, right? So that's when I really shifted how I teach that program. And the first thing I did was I said, all right, instead of covering the safety thing in like 20 or 30 minutes, I'm going to cover it in like 2.5, 3 hours, right? So I absolutely increased that time, right? And I basically turned it into a sales pitch, and I know how to sell, right? And so then it became a pitch, right? Then it became from the very beginning that this is how you're going to dive, and I'm going to show you, why you're going to do it this way, and then why it's in your interest to do it this way. And, and then all of a sudden, every video they see, because most of my customers are spearfishing, well, not most, 90% of my customers are spear fishermen. So they're seeing videos of spearfishing having blackouts. So it's a lot more relatable to them, right? And then now, because I've been doing this for long, I have, stories of my students that have rescued someone from a blackout. I mean, I quit counting, but probably 5 years ago, I had 10 students of mine, past students, that had rescued someone from a blackout, right? And so I include those stories in the training, and that gets people's attention, right? Because it's like, oh wow, like this stuff is actually real, right? And I have to actually pay attention. The other thing I noticed is, and I still notice this today, is I get a lot of students that come from other instructors, right? And they go through, they've taken a variety of different courses from a variety of different instructors. And one of the things I asked them, at the end of the course is I said, were you diving the way that you should be? And the majority of students say no, right? And so what that tells me is many instructors make the same mistake that I made, right? Is they teach them how to do things, but they don't convince them to implement it, right? And so that's one of the things I'm going to be working on is, so I already have a program, freedivingsafety.com. It's a free online program that basically covers most of the safety information for my class. So if anyone's watching, and I've seen some of you guys in the comments that say that you've been, that you haven't taken a freediving class, absolutely recommend you go through that program, freedivingsafety.com. It's a free course. It's going to go over the risks of the sport. It's going to go over the fatality numbers that happen in the sport, and they're real, right? 50 to 75 fatalities per year, right? You should pay attention. It'll show you how to tell if you're breathing incorrectly or in a dangerous manner, if you're overweighted, and then most importantly, you're going to see video of me going through how to rescue someone from a blackout. What if they have a loss of motor control? What are you supposed to do in those situations? And if you haven't taken a class, you probably don't know. Right? So again, the course is free. No reason not to go through that. So what I'm also going to do is, I've got a lot of things on my plate at the moment, but I want to create a course for instructors to help them deliver that message, right? To help them get the point across. Because what I believe, and I hope to believe that this is true. Well, I do believe it, and I hope and assume that it's true, is that any freediving class you take by any agency is going to give you information about safety. They're going to explain to you need to watch each other. They're going to explain to you what to do if their buddy has a blackout, and you're going to get in the water and practice that stuff, right? So hopefully, when I have some time, I want to create a course specifically for instructors, basically going over, in essence, the pitch, right? How do you convince them to change their mind? Because, the average freediver coming into this course doesn't do anything that I'm talking about. The average spearfisherman coming into this course does, no one that they dive with does any of this stuff, right? So it's hard to change their mind when, their entire career, the two guys jump in the boat and this one goes that way and this one goes the other way, right? If that's all they've ever seen, it's very difficult for me to do that. So that's something that I'll be working on. All right, so do me a favor. For those that are in the chat, I just want to do some testing, make sure I got all this working. I've seen a couple things in here. If you're watching this on Facebook, let me know. Where you're from and if you've taken a freediving class. Some of you guys already answered. I just want to make sure the chat is working. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do in just a second is I'm going to, for those of you that are watching this on Facebook, so if you guys are tuning in, I'm streaming this on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, or let me restate that. I'm streaming this on Facebook and YouTube, and on those platforms, unfortunately not on Instagram, they're going to be able to see the videos that I'm talking about because I've got a new piece of software that allows me to put videos on the screen. So those on Instagram in just a little bit, I'm going to be talking about this video that they're looking at, and you are not going to be able to see it. All right, so Noah Reed, so definitely take the time. freedivingsafety.com when you're done with this live chat, right? So for those of you that are watching this on Instagram, I'm going to give you a bit of a second to see if you can switch over to Facebook, because if you're watching on Facebook, you're going to see the video that I'm actually talking about. Okay, so let me set this video up. This video I have used extensively since I got my hands on it, so probably around 2012 or 13. It's a video shot by Ren Chapman of Evolve Freediving, and it's a video of a spearfishing blackout. Oh, Hollywood. That's very close by. So here's the setup in this video. It's such a powerful video. In every freediving class, this video gets shown. If you're a freediving instructor, this is an excellent video to show. I know a lot of instructors that show this. When I go to, I'm going to be presenting at the Florida Spearfishermen, the South Florida Freedivers Spearfishing Club in Miami. I'm going to guarantee you, I'll show this video probably 3 times. So here's the backstory of the video. Ren and Ashley are PFI instructors. They're spearfishermen, and they had actually this was back in 2009. They just completed their instructor course, and they're back home, and they went out spearfishing with this guy, right? And they said, look, if we're gonna be diving, we got to be diving in teams, one up, one down, and I can tell you're wearing too much weight, just from looking at your weight belt. And his basic response was like, look, Ren, I've been doing this for 30 years. I never had a problem. I dive by myself all the time. I've never had a problem. So no, I'm not gonna do that stuff, right? Because I've been doing it for 30 years and I've never had a problem. So this guy, and he says he absolutely always dives by himself. So this guy said he was an 80-foot spearfisherman. He's diving to 50 foot in this video that I'm about to show you. He's diving to 50 foot. He had done 7 dives to 50 foot. And then the dive that you're going to see is the next one. All right, so let me see if I can figure out the technology to make this video. So the guys on Instagram, you are not going to see this video. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, you will. Video capture device. Chat, go away. All right, so here we go. So again, this is about 50 foot. And this is I believe his 8th dive at this depth. So it's not, there's no way you say this guy he was diving beyond his ability, or he was diving like an idiot, right? This is all within his range. All right, so he goes over, shoots a fish, secures the other end, and starts heading up to the surface. Everything looks completely normal to me. Now, already I can notice his kick's a little wonky. Little bit wonky, right? It's not going anywhere. Look at that. That's the release of air. And then you see him sinking down to the bottom, right? Watch this again. Release of air. That's him blacking out. And then you see, because he's overweighted, he's sinking down to the bottom. All right, I want you guys to watch this one more time. All right, this time when you watch this video, I want you to watch for the spot where he asks for help. See if you can see when he's asking for help. For those who don't see where he's asking for help. Right. He didn't ask for help, right? There wasn't no spot where you could see where he asked for help, right? And that's the point, right? This was an experienced spearfisherman with, 30 years of experience, and he had no idea. He had no idea that anything was wrong, right? So one of the things that I like to explain when I show this video to people is everyone says, Ted, look, I appreciate, what you're doing. And, my kids, absolutely, they need to be diving like this, one up, one down. But I don't push myself. I know my limits. In fact, I've never had a problem. Therefore, I'm being safe. Okay, that's a very difficult argument to overcome, and it took me many years to figure out how to address that. Right. So what I like is by showing this video, you can clearly see that he had no idea that anything was wrong. So if he didn't know that anything was wrong, and he still blacked out, saying that you know your limits and you don't push yourself, it really doesn't mean anything. Because here's the facts. The facts are when you come up from a dive and that dive were to result in a blackout, most of the time you wouldn't feel anything. Right? So saying that you don't push yourself, you know your limits, it doesn't mean anything, right? So some of the analogies I like to use are, I mean, like let's imagine you're a skydiver guy, right? Do you think skydivers say, look, I've been doing this for 20 years, I've never needed my reserve chute, so you know what? I'm not going to fool with that reserve chute. I'm just not going to pack it, right? It's too much of a pain in the butt, right? No, they wear the reserve chute so they don't go splat, right? Do you ever go, you know what, I've been driving my car for 20 years and never had a wreck, so I'm not going to wear my seatbelt? No, you wouldn't say that, right? So when people say I've never had a problem, I don't push myself, I just come up before I black out, therefore I'm safe, that's not what safe is. Safe is what would happen to you if you had the blackout? What happened to you if something goes wrong? That's what safe means, right? So if you watch that video, that spearfishing blacking out, the question is, what would happen to you if that was you on your last trip? Right? That's what's determining if you're safe or not. So the last thing I say about that argument is people go, you know, I don't push myself, I've never had a problem. That argument's always correct. You're always going to be correct with that argument until you're dead, right? And until it's no longer correct. But you're always right until you're not. So that's what makes that argument very tricky and difficult to deal with. All right, so if you guys have questions, I'm going to go through and do these. I'm going to see if I can fix this chat box because it's not working correctly, so bear with me. I've got some technological issues to sort out clearly. All right, so maybe losing the chat on Facebook and YouTube and all that, but for those on Instagram, obviously I can still see that. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put those in. All right, so one of the things that I'll bring up when it comes to this idea of safety, and the one thing that I have a lot of people say that they're very surprised is, I actually had a conversation with this guy on Facebook not too long ago, is that they were very surprised to find out that the actual fatality numbers, right? So it's this is just in the United States, it's around 50 to 75 fatalities per year in the United States. The majority of those happen while spearfishing, but there's a growing number that's happening in the pools, and it's because people are training in the pools. They're doing breath hold training, and they watch YouTube videos where people are holding rocks and running across the bottom of the pool. So they're doing stuff like that. So we're seeing more and more folks having these issues in the pools. I actually was teaching a freediving course. This was probably 7, 8 years ago. This was back when I used to teach the course. I used to always run into Martin when I was teaching in there. So Martin would have his big 15, 20 person class, and I had about 1 or 2 students. But I was teaching a class in this pool in Pompano, and what happened was I had my guys in the shallow end there doing statics, and I look in the deep end of the pool, and there's this one guy doing underwater. He's got a weight belt on, and he's doing rock. He's running laps underneath the deep end, right? So he's got big weight belt on, and he's going back and forth across the bottom, and he's got a buddy on the surface, got his hands on the side of the pool, looking the other direction. So I'm trying to do my statics, and every time I keep down there, I see this guy carrying a weight belt running across the bottom of the pool, and I'm like, oh my god, like. But I got students, and I got to take care of my guys, and I can't help but look at this guy. And finally, I said, all right, guys, let's take a 5-minute break. So I go run over there to the deep end, and I say, hey, you guys, you guys free diver, you spearfish? He's like, oh yeah, we're big spear fishermen, and we're coming in here to work it out. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I said, let me guess, you haven't taken a freediving class, have you? And they're like, no, but we really want to. And I said, you want to know how I know? And they're like, well, yeah. And I said, well, because, what you're doing underwater, right? You're doing these underwater, laps underwater, carrying the big weight belt is, if you take a freediving class, you would understand that the way that you're doing that is extremely dangerous, because if you were to black out, your buddies, he's not even looking he's like looking the other direction, right? He's got his arms up. And they're like, well, and I said, well, I'm just saying that there's definitely a risk at what you're doing. And, if you took a freediving class, you'd learn a lot more about it. And so I'm trying to change their mind. At some point, I'm like, I'm not the freediving police. Like, what can I do? I told them it was dangerous. Maybe they didn't know. So then I go back to teaching my class. Right. So then I'm teaching my class, and then now they're doing dynamics. Right. Now they're doing actually 50, 70. They're doing over 50-meter dynamics. Right. So they're going back 4. So they're doing some actually pretty long ones. And so I'm just like, and they're getting farther each time, right? And they're, all high-fiving and all this stuff. And I'm trying to teach my class, and I'm like looking over my shoulder at these people, which is making me a little stressed. So at some point, I tell the class again, all right, look, let's take a break. And so, I go over there, and I'm like, how far are you going? They're like, oh, we're going, we're trying to get 75 meters. I'm like, wow, that's really far, right? 75 meters is a really, really long way. And they're like, yeah, we're almost there. We're around 60, 65. I'm like, that's cool. I said, have you ever seen how long those, the competitive freedivers go? Do you have any idea how long the longest person in the U.S. freediving record holder, how long he can go in the pool? And they're like, no, I have no idea. It was 170 meters. He's like, holy crap, that's a long way. I mean, that's huge. I'm like, yeah, you know who's done that the longest more than anyone else in the United States? And I'm like, no. And I'm like, me. I'm like, and as someone who's done that longer than anyone in the United States, it was of course like a long time ago, I said, what you're doing is extremely dangerous. You're running risks of blackouts. You're not watching each other. You run the risk of having dying in this pool. I'm like, it doesn't make any sense, right? And so I give them one last, pitch, and they don't have it. They're just like, shut up and go away, right? And so I'm just like, okay, look, I tried twice. I can't do anymore. So I go back to teaching the class. They get out of the pool. One guy leaves. Other guy comes up to me and is like, hey, man, I'm sorry about my friend. He was being a little rude. Can I get a card? And so I want to go and get to the program. But, it's just it's a perfect example of, you don't know what you don't know. So definitely for those that are out that are watching, that are paying attention, if you haven't taken a class, definitely take the time to go through freedivingsafety.com, free course. It'll teach you everything you need to know from a safety standpoint, right? You'll also know from the program that I encourage you to actually take a full freediving course, because the safety course is great, but you're going to learn way more in an actual in-person course where you get to get in the water and actually practice the rescues. But for those that haven't taken a class, it's a good place to start. All right, so I'm going to wrap this thing up. This is my first time doing it with all this new technology, and I can tell you, I definitely got some kinks I got to work out. I'm losing the chat, losing this, that, and the other. So, but bear with me. I'm going to be back Wednesday. Going to be back Wednesday 7 p.m., Thursday 7 p.m., and I'm hoping by the end of this week I can get this whole new process sorted out, because I am excited about what it can do. I just got to figure out how to make it work. So I hope to see you guys later in the week.